Alright, let's watch.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has plenty of cards with effects that let you instantly win the game. But a card doesn't need to outright say
Alright.
you win the duel to turn the tides in your favor. Some cards have effects that can totally destroy your opponent's strategy that you're almost guaranteed to win the duel after they resolve. So today, we'll be looking at the cards that can win you the duel on their own, but don't have instant win effects. And at number
That grass looks like I won the duel. I wonder what type of cards we're gonna see. We're gonna see obviously Droll, Maxi, some Kali Yuga maybe. I mean Kali Yuga is, yeah, I feel like people underestimate Kali Yuga. But it's some cards like that. Flying Elephant, no, that doesn't count. But you know what you know what it means.
10, we have Destructive Daruma Karma.
Really?
This is a trap card that, on activation, tries to flip every monster on the field face down. And once it's flipped as many cards as it can,
Yeah, floodgates.
any card that's left still face up gets sent to the graveyard. Flipping a card face down is an underrated form of removal. When you flip an opponent's card face down, that card loses its effects and can't be used for synchro, Xyz, or link plays. It also loses all of its unique traits, like its name, type, or attribute. The ability
That's exactly it. Inspector Border, they are all floodgates. I feel like this is a category for floodgates. I'm surprised that they are putting here Daruma Karma Cannon, which doesn't feel like a card that wins the game. But let's see the let's see. I don't know. I don't think this wins the game exactly, but I guess so because you have like dead cards, right? The no synchro Xyz or links, but it doesn't feel strong enough as other cards. I feel like at the end I will be like, okay, there is this card that is way more game winning than Karma Cannon, but we will see.
ability to turn an opponent's monster into essentially a blank piece of cardboard is what's allowed a card like
It has to be well timed.
first
Yes.
printed all the way back in 2003, to still see play today. Karma Cannon takes the flipping face down mechanic and turns it up to 11. You can use Karma Cannon to disrupt your opponent's plays, flipping it in the middle of their turn to disable their on-field combo pieces. You can flip it once their combo is over to clog their board with useless face-down monsters. You can even use it at the start of the battle phase to stop them from declaring an attack. Karma Cannon is especially useful against decks that focus on link summoning. Since link monsters can't be flipped face down, Karma Cannon will always send link monsters to the graveyard. And if you take a close look at how the card's second line is written, if either player controls a face-up monsters, they must send all face-up monsters they control.
That is insane. This is insane lawyer game. Like, I get it. I understand it. I understand why a new player will confuse. Me personally, yeah, I fell for it before. Now I understand. But still feels unfair. Still feels unfair, yeah.
Each player is the one doing the sending. This means that even if your opponent's monster is unaffected by card effects, your opponent still has to send it to the graveyard. But there's a catch. To activate Karma Cannon, there needs to be at least one monster on the board that could potentially get flipped face down. In other words, if the only monster on the field are link monsters, you can't activate it.
Interesting.
And if
I
the
didn't
only
know
monsters
that.
on the field are non-link monsters but are unaffected by card effects, they won't get sent to the graveyard. At least one card needs to be flipped face down for any card to leave the field.
Wait. So this card can actually not out Liger Dancer. This card cannot out two Liger Dancers. People lied to me. They said, "Oh yeah, just play this." Then this doesn't out Liger Dancer. It's not that simple. Interesting. If Liger is the only monster on board, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If all the monsters on board aren't affected and cannot be face down, then yeah, it doesn't do anything. And most opportunities, that's gonna be the case. It can flip another. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The usual board of Luna Light is just one Liger Dancer or two Liger Dancers, right? Usually there is nothing else unless they mess up somehow. You can always normal summon to ensure there's one. Yeah, that is true. That is true, but it's like, it's not just one card that you need. You need to sacrifice one normal summon. Because then it's also going to be face down. Your monster is going to be face down. So, yeah.
Even with those restrictions, Karma Cannon is a favorite toy in trap-heavy decks like Labyrinth. Since these decks
Gabriel
don't
mentioned.
play many monsters, Karma Cannon's effect to flip your own monsters face down too doesn't matter as much. Its devastating ability to stop your opponent's turn in its tracks easily earns it a spot on this list. But its downsides, like affecting your own monsters and being a trap card, meaning you have to set it and then wait a turn to activate it, keep it at a low spot. And at number 9, we have Super Polymerization. This is a quick
Yeah.
play spell card that, for the cost of 1 discard, lets you fusion summon a monster using any monsters on the field, including your opponent's. In addition, neither player can chain another card to Super Polymerization, making it virtually impossible to negate. Super Poly has seen regular play since its release nearly 2 decades ago, acting as a fantastic way to punch a hole in your opponent's strategy while giving yourself a new monster to work with. What makes Super Poly so powerful is how simple its effect is. It just fusion summons, meaning that even if your opponent's monster has an effect that makes it unable to be targeted or destroyed, Super Poly can still just fuse it away. The only cards Super
Unaffected, yeah.
Poly can't use are ones that specifically say this card can't be used as a fusion material, or that are unaffected by other card effects, but those are pretty rare. Some of the
Yeah?
most
You think so?
popular monsters to summon using Super Poly include Garura, the Wings of Resonant Life, and Mudragon of the Swamp. These work so well because of how generic the required materials are.
Wait, hold on, chat. Do you think... Which one do you think is rarer? This card can be used as fusion material or isn't affected by other cards. I feel like cannot be used as fusion material is rarer than unaffected in the current meta at least. I don't know.
But those are pretty rare.
Yeah.
Some of the most popular monsters to summon using Super Poly include Garura, the Wings of Resonant Life, and Mudragon of the Swamp. These work so well because of how generic the required materials are, meaning that no matter what deck your opponent is playing, they'll probably give you the materials you need. With the right Super Poly targets in your extra deck, you can easily deal with your opponent's most important monsters, like their Omni Negates or big attackers. Or if you're going first, you can set Super Poly and then activate on your opponent's turn to disrupt their combo. In either case, fusing away the linchpins of your opponent's strategy is often enough to destroy their entire game plan, giving you a clear path to victory. Super Poly was banned from January 2015 to September of 2018, and only went back to Unlimited in mid-2019. Still, players regularly call for it to be banned again, arguing that its powerful effect and protection from negates makes it unfairly difficult to play around. But if it's so good, why is it so low on this list? Well, for 2 reasons. First, it requires you to dedicate slots in the extra deck to it,
Wow.
space that's only gotten more precious as the game evolves and more powerful extra deck staples have come out. And 2, in a game where the top decks can hit full combo with a single card, getting 2 monsters off your opponent's board isn't as devastating as it used to be, especially if the monsters you fuse away have graveyard effects. So, while Super Polymerization might be great, it's not anywhere near the best. And at number
You really think there's a modern card present in the DXR? It's a card that comes from the future, right? It really is a card that comes from the future. I guess so. I don't think... I don't know, we'll see.
number 8, we have Red Reboot. This is a
Yeah,
counter trap card
I
which
guess
lets you
certain
negate
decks,
a trap card your opponent has
I
activated.
guess
With
it
the
wins the game
downside is your
easily.
opponent can then search and set another trap card from their deck. After it resolves, your opponent can't activate any more trap cards that turn. Additionally, for the cost of half your life points, you can
Yeah, set it
activate
down
Red
too.
Reboot from the hand without setting it. So it's a literal hand trap. Red Reboot is a deceptively powerful card. Although it only negates a single trap, the fact that it turns off the rest of your opponent's traps makes it a silver bullet against decks like Labyrinth and Trap Tricks,
That's what I'm
which
saying.
rely on activating lots of traps to summon monsters and make plays. This is why Red Reboot is almost always found in the side deck rather than the main deck. If you're playing against a combo deck that relies entirely on monsters or spells, it's not going to do much. But against a trap or stun deck, it's enough to turn your opponent into a sitting duck. It's also
This card was really fun when Dracotail was the best deck in Master Duel. This card was so fun. He was like, no, don't do that. We're not doing that anymore. We're not activating trap cards. I don't care. Yeah, it's really fun.
also effective against decks that mix archetype-specific traps into their strategies like Dracotail, and it's one of the few ways to deal with other traps that activate from the hand, especially if you don't have a spell or trap card negate on the field. Being a counter trap means that your opponent can't respond to it either, unless they have a counter trap of their own. And since you can
Hi.
activate it from your hand without setting it, your opponent almost has no way to destroy it before you activate it.
All the cards here are counters to Dynamorphia. Wait. I mean, to be fair, all these cards are counters to. The first two are counters to basically everything, right? So I don't know.
The fact that Red Reboot is both unrespondable and such an instant win card against certain strategies has made it incredibly controversial, with lots of players, especially those who play trap decks, holding it up as an extremely unfair game design.
They're talking about you! Chad, they are talking about you! Dude, immediately they show this and my chat start boo, right? Yeah, that's you, that's you!
This might be why Red Reboot is currently banned in the TCG, limited to 1 in the OCG, and even semi-limited to 2 in Master Duel, where the lack of a side deck forces you to play it in your main deck. It's a powerful card that keeps trap and stun decks in check, but the fact that so many combo decks can play through it keeps it low on this list, and specifically lower than other staple side deck traps. And at number 7, we have Evenly Matched.
Oh, yeah, no, this card's insane. Yeah, I totally see this. Sometimes you feel like it just gets rid of the cards, right? So if it banishes them. It banishes the cards, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess we're gonna finish the video. I wanted to just watch the start and see where it goes, but I'm really interested on how this video is going. So let's watch the whole thing.
This is a trap card that, when activated at the end of the battle phase, forces your opponent to banish cards until they control the same number of cards as you. But what makes this card special is that, like Red Reboot, you can activate it from your hand without setting it if you control no cards. If you draw Evenly Matched going second and your opponent sets up a full board, you can skip your main phase 1 and battle phase, then drop Evenly Matched, forcing them to go down to a single card, and then continue your plays in the main phase 2. It gets even better if you draw 2 copies, since the card doesn't have any sort of once per turn restriction. If your opponent has a way to negate the first Evenly Match, you can just drop another one right after. It's also worth noting that it forces your opponent to banish their cards face down. Getting banished face down is pretty much the most powerful form of removal in the game.
Not anymore, that's about to change, and I don't like that.
Since cards banished face down can't use any banishment effects they might have, and there are very few ways to get them back into the game. And since cards that have been banished face down aren't treated as monsters, spells, or traps, even cards that specifically let you use banished cards as fusion materials won't work either. Having to give up your main phase 1 and battle phase are pretty harsh downsides, since that makes it impossible to win the game on that turn, unless you can inflict 8,000 points of effect damage, or pull off an alternate win condition. But banishing nearly all of your opponent's cards face down is such a devastating blow to your strategy that it's often enough to win you the game, either because your opponent surrenders, or because they're left with so few cards that they can't possibly recover.
I feel like this is a type of card that sounds like it should be way higher than 7. Like, what are the other 6, right? What are they? Because this already feels insane.
That second option becomes especially likely if you spend the phase you do get, main phase 2, setting up a big board of your own. Evenly Match is the quintessential side deck card, with the common strategy being to win the first duel of a best of 3, then go into the second duel when you know your opponent is going to be making you go second, siding into your main deck. It's seen competitive play regularly since its release, and unless some new archetype comes out that can turn face down banishing cards into straight up advantage, it's going to keep being a side deck staple for the foreseeable future. But Evenly Matched's downsides, like having to skip 2 phases and letting your opponent keep a card, as well as the fact that it can be negated pretty easily, keep it from rising higher on this list.
Playing in Tenpai? Why would I play this in Tenpai? Why would it be the point of playing this in Tenpai? You skip your battle phase. Tenpai is a battle phase archetype. After you do that, you have to set up a board with Tenpai. How do you set up a board with Tenpai? I mean, you can do it, but your whole deck will have to be around this. Might as well play something else, right? Why play Tenpai if you're gonna play Evenly Matched? Well, that's from my perspective, right? I'm not the best Tenpai player, so I don't know.
And at number 6, we have Droll and
Yeah,
Lockbird.
that's a card that
This is
instantly
a
win the
level 1
games
monster
sometimes.
that, in response to your opponent adding a card from their deck to hand, you can discard it to prevent both players from adding cards to their hand for the rest of the turn. That restriction includes both searching specific cards out of your deck and drawing them off the top.
You know what? I feel like it's not that strong. It's only really it's the same with everything, right? It's only strong against certain decks. Right now, Droll doesn't do much because some decks just completely ignore it. And sometimes you even max see someone and then they Droll themselves and they have a Droll line that is almost as strong, right? So Droll can be even protection from max C sometimes. Crazy.
Droll is a simple way to lock your opponent out of their deck, and is especially powerful against strategies that rely on adding lots of cards to hand, like Mitsurugi or Sky Striker. Dropping a Droll in these decks is often enough to stop their entire turn, as it can stop them from bringing
Mitsurugi can play to Droll, right? Because they summon from deck, right? I'm pretty sure. I don't know, I could be wrong.
out key monsters or extenders. If they started the duel with a subpar hand, it can also stop them from fixing the hand with cards like Melody of Awakened Dragon,
Not really.
leaving them
Oh,
stuck with their
interesting.
bricks. For the last few years, Droll has been often referred to as the canary in the coal mine card.
What does
That
that
means
mean?
that if the game is in a format where everyone's playing Droll, it's probably a sign that the top decks are performing long, tedious combos that involve drawing a massive amount of cards.
But a lot of decks can do that, even under Droll.
Even during formats where the top decks don't do a lot of searching, it's still a reliable side deck option, since its lack of restrictions makes it easy to include in pretty much any deck. With all that said, Droll is also a controversial card. The fact that it's so easy to slot into any deck, and some decks have few if any ways to avoid it, have given it a reputation of being very unfun. After all, while it might feel great to drop Droll on an opponent and force them to end their turn, getting it dropped on you can feel like you don't even get a chance to play the game.
It's almost like playing the game is fun, right? And you want to play the game, and you don't want your opponent to play the game, right? So you can play more game. Yeah.
That's especially true if you're going second and your opponent drolls you after they've already set up a massive board on their own. That's why it's either limited or semi-limited in the TCG, OCG, and Master Duel right now. You also have to be careful when playing Droll in the same deck as hand traps with lingering draw effects, like Maxi or the Mulcharmies. Droll's deck lockdown effect applies to both players, not just the opponent. Even if you've already resolved Maxi, activating Droll will stop you from drawing for the rest of the turn. In short, Droll is a sneaky card that can force surrenders before your opponent even has a chance to get their combo going. But the fact that it's better in some formats than others, and that some decks can play around it, earns it a lower spot on this list than cards that are useful all the time. And at number 5,
What
we
card
have
is useful
Solemn
all the
Judgment.
time? I guess
This
this
is a
one.
counter trap card which allows you to pay half your life points to negate a single summon or a spell or trap card negation. Solemn Judgment is one of the oldest trap cards still seeing play today, having been first released in Metal Raiders all the way back in 2004.
Alright.
That was also the set that first introduced the idea of counter trap cards, which it can't be responded to by anything except other counter traps. When it was first released, Solemn Judgment didn't see very much play. In the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh!, players saw the card's life point cost as too harsh of a downside for us.
Wait, why is this card here? It's just one negate. It's just one negate. There's a lot of cards that are just one negate, like, easily, and they do more than that. I know it's a counter trap, so you cannot respond to this, but still. Summon negate? I don't know about that. I mean, I know you negate a summon, but still, I don't know.
A single negate. But as the game progressed and players' thinking evolved to treat life points as another expendable resource, it
Also,
gained
this card says when. Doesn't this mean that this loses timing? The Solemn Judgment loses timing? I don't know. I don't play this card, so I don't know how it works now.
massive popularity, and was even banned in the TCG from 2013 to 2018.
Some decks scramble if you can negate their normal summon. Some decks. But most decks don't even use their normal summon. Now that I think about it. I feel like right now most decks don't even use a normal summon. When is as in the last thing to happen? Yes.
Even now, it's limited in the TCG, OCG, and Master Duel. Judgment's power comes from how flexible it is. It was one of the very first Omni negates, or cards that can negate multiple different types of cards. The ability to essentially say no to almost any of your opponent's card activations can be enough to win a game on its own, or at least throw a massive wrench in your opponent's plans. And Judgment isn't the only Solemn card that has had a massive metagame impact. The Solemn series also includes, in order of release, Solemn Warning, which can negate a summon for 2,000 life points, Solemn Scolding, which can negate a summon, spell, or trap effect, or monster effect for 3,000 life points if it's your only set card, Solemn Strike, which can negate a special summon or monster effect for 1,500 life points, and this year's Solemn Accusation, which can negate a spell or trap card for 1,500 life points, as well as banish all spells and traps of the same name from your opponent's deck for 3,000 life. Accusation can even be activated directly from the hand if you have another trap set, giving the Solemn archetype a massive amount of power creep. In every case, the Solemn cards are designed to be like bombs, able to flip up and destroy an opponent's play without any way of being stopped if you know your opponent's deck has a singular choke point. Dropping a Solemn on them can end the game right there. And Accusation's effect to banish cards directly from your opponent's deck can remove their ability to play on future turns too, forcing a loss, if not an immediate surrender.
Yeah, I feel like this card is more like game winning than Solemn Judgment. This card is like, oh yeah, bye, you're gonna play engage.
Despite their age, the Solemn cards still see heavy competitive play in both the main and side decks. That consistent strength and popularity earns them a decent spot on this list, though being a trap card puts them lower than some other higher entries. And at number 4, we have Nibiru the Primal Being. This is a level 11 monster with the effect to summon itself by tributing all monsters on the field, then summon a token to your opponent's board. But you can only activate this effect once your opponent has summoned at
I guess so, but like I feel like right now is the deck doesn't have Nibiru protection, but and that's why no one plays Nibiru anymore. That's why it's surprising when you actually are playing a deck without it, and it happens. Yeah,
at least 5 times in a single turn. When it comes to hand traps, Nibiru is one of the most iconic. In most cases, its effect is a complete board wipe, able to reduce your...
Name one meta deck that gets hurt by Nib. Sky Striker.
Opponent's field to nothing but a vanilla.
That's not even meta at this point. K9, right? No, K9. What am I talking about? They have Izuna. What am I saying? They have Izuna. No. Well, you're right. You're right.
Token. This makes it fantastic to activate as your opponent is assembling their field,
Ultune?
before they can use their smaller monsters to synchro or link climb into something more powerful. Or if your opponent finished their combo but didn't include any monster negates, you can activate Nibiru at the end of their main phase to essentially undo their entire turn. Nibiru's release totally changed how competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played. Before its release, combo decks had no worries about...
The good decks don't summon more than 5 times without a negate.
Summoning an endless load of monsters, with decks like Danger Dark World and Goki summoning upwards of 20 cards in a single turn. In a post-Nibiru world, though, meta decks are judged by how strong of a board they can set up in under 5 summons. If your deck can set up a monster negate in less than 5 summons, that's a massive boost to its playability.
Cards being able to be negated does not mean it's still game ending if it... But I feel like Super Poly cannot be negated. That's what makes it really strong, right? You know, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess game ending if they resolve. I think that makes sense. Same as evenly matched. Yeah, if you put it like that, it makes sense. But at the same time, I feel like the role is not that game ending as like evenly matched. I don't know.
Since you can now negate Nibiru once it's activated.
Maybe I don't understand.
If your combo
maybe I didn't pay
takes
attention
more
to the
than
start
5 turns to summon a negate, though, you're in danger of getting Nibiru out of the game. This has caused a lot of power creep problems. When Konami wants a new deck to see meta success, it has an incentive to design the deck so it can play under Nibiru.
Putting up negate before 5 summons means you're still respecting the Nib, just like when we used to respect Gors. So true, so true. Me personally, I don't respect Nibiru. I just, you know, what can I do?
And the traits you need to play under Nibiru, like 1-card combos and easy to set up negates, also make the deck powerful against plenty of other cards too. Within the game itself, Nibiru has one major downside. It can be a big brick. If you draw 2 copies, one will be useless since the effect can only be used once per turn, And if you draw at the start of your own turn, chances are you won't ever get to activate it unless your opponent is playing a deck that lets you summon more than 5 times on your turn. Still, Nibiru's game warping ability to end games on the 5th summon makes it an undeniably good card in a bunch of different formats. That consistent power gets it a high ranking. And at number 3, we have Skill Drain. This is a continuous trap card that, for the cost of 1,000 life points, negates the effects of every monster on the field. This is another trap card released near the very start of Yu-Gi-Oh's lifespan that still sees play. And in the modern metagame, it's more...
Didn't this get banned? This is limited, right? Let's go. I love draining skill. Dude, this card should not exist. It's so dumb. It makes games like a coin flip. So stupid.
Powerful than ever. Compared to early formats, modern meta decks now overwhelmingly rely on monster effects, with spell cards acting more commonly as ways to get those monsters into your hand or onto the field. And the majority of those monster effects activate on the field. Skill Drain shuts all of that down. Unless your opponent has a way to get Skill Drain off the field without their on-field monsters, they have no way of playing. And although Skill Drain might be limited, it's far from the only continuous trap card that stops your opponent from playing the game. These cards, also called Floodgates, include Anti-Spell Fragrance, which stops both players from activating spell cards from their hand, Dimensional Barrier...
Wait, so all the Floodgates are on number 3, basically?
So you pick an extra deck summoning type and shut it off for the turn, and the infamous triple threat of There Can Be Only One, Goes in Match, and Rivalry of Warlords, which make it illegal to summon certain monsters. And unlike the Solemn cards, you don't need to wait for your opponent to do anything to activate these cards. You can flip them up as soon as your opponent's draw phase happens without giving them any chance to fight back. Very few decks can play around these floodgates without specifically preparing beforehand. That's especially true in Master Duel, as in the TCG and OCG, players tend to keep cards to destroy back row in their side deck. So when they stumble on a player with Skill Drain, they can use those cards in games 2 and 3.
So true, Moxie. They should ban every single floodgate, including... No, I'm just kidding. No Typhoon. Typhoon can stay.
But in Master Duel, where there's no side deck, you either have to keep those cards in your main deck, or risk getting screwed over. All of these cards do have a major downside.
Yeah, he doesn't count.
They apply to both players. So the person who activates them gets that restriction too. That's why they're most popular in decks that like Stun or Stall, which aim to win the duel without many monsters. Floodgates like Skill Drain are designed to turn the duel into a one-sided affair, with the opponent either scrambling to find a new game plan, or simply waiting for the inevitable loss. They're annoying but powerful cards, which is why they've all found themselves on the ban list at one time or another, and why they earn a high spot on this list. And at number 2, we have Dimensional Shifter. This is a level 6 monster that, if you don't have any cards in your graveyard, you can discard it to make it so that any card that would normally go to the graveyard this turn gets banished instead.
This card is so cringe, dude. This card is so I hate this card so much, dude. This card is so cringe. You know why I hate this card? Because this is a break. This is a dumb break that you put this in your deck because you want to win free games without playing it. It's so stupid. You'd rather have a break than playing the games. It like creates less Yu-Gi-Oh. Like, I don't know. I don't put this. I haven't crafted it. I know it's like good because it just wins game instantly, but I hate the idea of having breaks. So dumb, so stupid.
Which applies to both players and actually lasts until the end of the next turn. Over the last few years, Dimensional Shifter has gone from a niche tech card option into one of the most popular hand traps in the game. That's because, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, most decks rely on sending cards to the graveyard in order to make their strategies work. That's either because certain cards have effects that only activate in the graveyard, or because their extenders require sending cards there. With Dimensional Shifter's effect active, decks that rely on the graveyard have no way of playing the game. And even if your opponent's deck doesn't rely on the grave, there's still a good chance that Shifter is going to mess with their deck in some way. For example, take the staples Forbidden Droplet and Drawn Lockbird. Both of these cards require sending either other cards or themselves to the graveyard for cost. Since you can't send anything to the grave, you can't pay the cost, so you can't even try to activate these cards. By itself, Shifter is enough to turn off hundreds of cards. Shifter originally saw play in decks that liked banishing cards. It helped the player who wanted to banish cards and hurt the opponent, a win-win. But in more recent times, it's seen success in decks that simply don't care about the graveyard, like Doom Z, and even in some decks that do use the graveyard, like Toons. Getting the chance to shut off the graveyard is such a powerful effect that these decks are willing to hurt themselves just to do it. Because
That's
when
what I'm saying. It's just by the chance of like getting this card in your hand and just winning a game. They put this there. It's so stupid. I hate it.
Shifter gets dropped on a graveyard reliant deck, the opponent either has to scrounge up a new game plan, which is often impossible, or they have to pass the turn and leave themselves open. And in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh!, being forced to skip your turn is usually enough to lose you the game. That's enough to snag Shifter the second highest spot on this list.
Blaine doesn't get it. We play to win, not to play. You know what? I think, yeah, no, you're right. My bad.
Oh, there's still one card that outpaces it. And at
Maxi?
number 1, we have Maxi. This is a level 2 monster which can discard itself to gain the effect to draw a card whenever your opponent special summons a monster. Maxi is possibly the most controversial Yu-Gi-Oh card ever printed. It's been banned in the TCG since 2018.
Well, this card has no. There is no reason for this card to exist. We have Mulcharmis. Why does this card? Why is this card not banned? It makes no sense.
In the OCG and Masterduel, it's not only the single most popular monster, but the most popular card in general. And that's not even considering it's limited to a single copy. Maxi's infamy comes from its ability to end games before they even start. You see, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, most decks special summon upwards of 10 times a turn, and drawing cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is pretty much the most powerful effect a card can have. Since the game doesn't have a concrete resource system like mana in Magic the Gathering, the only real limit on how much a player can do is what cards they have in hand. That's why Pot of Greed, the card with the shortest text in the game, is banned. So, when you activate Maxi against an opponent, they have to make a choice. Do they want to play out their turn, but potentially let you draw enough cards to defeat them with ease? Or should they end their turn early, denying you the card advantage, but leaving themselves open without a board to protect them? But either choice leads to the same thing. The player with Maxi wins, since they're now holding loads of cards, or the opponent left themselves open. It's not rare for players to respond to Maxi by immediately surrendering, since there's no way to win from that point. This is more true now more than ever. Since so many decks can start their winning combo with a single card, every card you draw from Maxi could be the one that wins you the game. Some players argue that this makes Maxi a well-designed card, since it allows players going...
How is this well-designed? What? What?
Second, or playing rogue decks to gain a rare advantage.
No, this is absurd, because you can use this going first too. It makes no sense. How is this balanced? You can make a full board of like, you know, whatever, right? 10 disruptions, and then you also have Maxi in your hand. This doesn't help going second players. It makes it harder. It's harder for going second players. If you go second and your opponent already has a board, and then you have to worry about Maxi and the opponent drawing more hand traps, it's what do you do? This is stupid. This is dumb. Who will say something like this?
But Maxi doesn't have any sort of restriction on who can use it or on which turn. This means that if a meta deck player going first draws it, they can simply set up their unbreakable board as usual, then just drop Maxi on the player going second, further protecting themselves from any sort of comeback.
Literally what I said. Literally what I said. That's why the Mulcharmis are actually these well-designed cards, right? Because they fix every issue that Maxi had. It's solved. The Maxi has no reason to exist.
Maxi also warps the game around it. Its power forces players to not only include a copy of the card in every deck, but also include the cards that counter it, like Ash Blossom and Crossout Designator. It's a testament to its power that even cards designed to fix Maxi's most unfair aspects, like the Mulcharmis, still see constant play too. There's a reason why so many players consider Maxi to be the worst part of Masterduel. Any game that it resolves in winds up revolving around it too.
It's a one-off. That's what makes it like more stupid, right? Because it's a one-off. So every game where this appears feels random.
Which earns it its reputation, and of course the top spot on this list.
Wow, very good video. No, I like it. It makes for really cool conversations to talk about this type of cards that feel unfair, I guess. Definitely I wasn't expecting every card to be generic. I wasn't expecting, or rather like a staple basically. I was expecting some cards that are more like in archetype, like what I said. What did I say? Kali Yuga, right? Stuff like that. That feels like a card that wins that actually wins the game if it resolves. But I really like it. So yeah, thank you.